Yeah.
I have to, it's just a guarantee.
Yeah. Well, I think the-
We got enough vote.
Yeah.
April called me, she's like, what are you looking at? I coded, there's like, and I said, then we're good.
So I,
Somebody else.
okay, so here's the deal, I haven't changed. Don't care. So
I didn't vote, let's go now.
I'm trying to change. I usually get gardeners that call.
I'm saying, I have.
Through 4-H online because now everybody absolutely has that. So. We did one fair entry. Now we're doing.
And a friend of mine saw that.
And then it gets money ranch.
So we can-
$300.
It's not gonna be just not.
They figured out a way.
I'm like, place for my cat.
It's really that. It's easier than that. But if it's farm and
I see, so we're just sitting there and you're like, the other night, I registered to hold for 10 rabbits and she.
How many have you used it at?
This is probably my fourth.
We've had them 2 years, they're pretty cool.
Yeah. So far, so good. You're live, by the way.
All right, we'll call this meeting of Missouri Valley Complex Committee to order. Let's run around and do introductions first. I've talked to Marie a few times via email. This is the first time I've met her. I know Tyler, but there's people over here. I want everybody to introduce themselves. Kevin?
Hi, good afternoon. Kevin Blitzfeld, Executive Director, Bismarck Parks and Recreation District.
Tom Peters, is president of the North Dakota Motorcycle Association.
Wayne Martinez, and past president of the Missouri Valley Fair Association, small with Buckstock Junction.
Alan Heim, and I'm involved with the equine facility that we're trying to get going with there.
Wayne Munson, Burley County Commissioner.
Kay Laco, interested citizen.
Tyler Krolichek, a natural resource agent.
Marie Horning, 4-H.
Mark?
Mark Splonskowski, Burley County Auditor.
Julie Jeske, Bismarck Park Board.
Steve New. So, support staff.
Well, I really, I want to thank everybody for taking the opportunity to be part of this group. This has been a conversation, to organize this group for at least the last year. My vision here is to bring everybody together to help grow the Missouri Valley Complex. It is a piece that is, it's a beautiful piece of land in our community that, I believe we need to grow, and I know everybody here is here because they want to see it grow. Either they're actively involved or they're actively concerned about the product. So with that, I want to thank you all for participating with this. We did get and some of the handouts that you have, the Burley County Commission approved having this group as an organization. With that, we are an arm, if you will, of Burley County Commission. So all of our meetings will have to be by minimum, minutes taken, roll call taken. Right now, we're using the OWL to videotape it as well, and that will be available on the Burley County website. Our goal is as we move forward, that these meetings will be live. So that all residents will have an opportunity to watch the meetings as we're conducting them. So the most transparency the most transparent we can be, the better. This group is in charge of growth, and we want to make sure our residents understand it. And if they have a concern, an issue, they can call us, they can reach out to us. But hopefully throughout this being televised, we'll get their support. And I think that's the most important part. With that, we're gonna have election of officers. So first, we're gonna need a chair. Do we have any nominations for chair? Yes,
I nominate Kay. Nicole.
Oh, boy.
okay. Have a second.
I'll second that.
Any other? Yes, ma'am.
I move unanimous ballot for Kayla Co. and nominate Steve.
Yeah, we go back a ways.
We have a motion for unanimous vote. All in favor, say aye.
I
Any opposed? All right. Okay. This is your chair.
Oh, boy.
Oh, easy.
I would say easy. Should have heard that train rolling. on the Okay, so, ladies and gentlemen, I will be making this up as I go. Commissioner Munson, am I correct in assuming, or is it implied written somewhere, you are the a non-voting liaison?
Yep, Julie Jeske with the Park District and myself, we are non-voting members. So my intention would be be sitting in the audience. But I figured till we get through some more here, I'll hang close.
All right, feel free to whip out the shepherd's hook if I get too far off the beaten path
That's why I
here.
sat next to you.
Yeah. Well, welcome, members. I have very little background with the previous Missouri Valley, was it Missouri Valley Complex Committee? Okay. Fair Association, okay. So. Oh, yep, I was over here yet. Okay, see, now.
Sorry.
We do.
Today.
You're good. You're good.
I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself right away before you even catch your breath.
Misty Hilsenberger with Buckstop Junction. Sorry, I'm used to saying animal control. So. Can't figure out which hat I'm wearing today.
Okay, we need to continue with the election and seating of the officers. Do we have a nomination for vice chair?
Nominate Alan.
Nomination for Alan?
Second.
We have a motion and a second for Alan as vice chair. Any further?
Nomination cease.
All right. The motion of nomination cease. And all right, all in favor of Alan Heim as vice chair, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Welcome Alan as the vice chair. Third up on the list of to-do is secretary. Do we have a nomination for secretary to the Missouri Valley Complex Committee?
Being a non-voting member, I can't make the motion, but I would suggest, Steve New. Steve has done a ton of good stuff up front with this group. He's got.
I would make that motion.
We have a motion for Steve New as secretary of the committee. Do we have a second?
I would second that.
All right, we have a first and a second. Any other nominations for secretary? Seeing none, I will move forward with a vote. All in favor of Steve New as secretary for the Missouri Valley Complex Committee, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right, your slate of officers for the Missouri Valley Complex Committee. Chair Kayla Co, Vice Chair Alan Heim, and Secretary Steve New. Now may I move on? Yeah, like move right along. So you could have taken that. Yeah. All right, so I'm seated. We're good. On to discussion. That's where I was kind of going before. Maybe a bit of introduction and background overviewing kind of where this all came from. And if it's okay, I would pontificate just a little bit as I have a little bit of background in just the very recent history. that, there became an awareness, as Commissioner Munson said, that there is a need for coordination and promotion out at the Missouri Valley Complex east of Bismarck. And through a long process, series of meetings and a lot of coordination, we all find ourselves here. I believe that it would be good for all of us to have just a little bit of background of where not particularly this committee is right now, but can you give us some of the history and the roots, Wayne? I think that that's important for us to know where we came from.
Well, it started back in, the grounds, back in, I think it was 88, 90, right in that area, time frame. To get some property for the Fair Association out there. Yeah, there's the map.
Ooh.
I'm glad you got that.
From 88.
That tells everything, 88 it was, that tells everything about it, the acres, there was penitentiary land at the beginning. And then, we went before the penitentiary board out here, state, county commissioners, worked on it to try to get the property approved for that, the first 160 acres. And then we found out we wanted to get some more acreage out there before it got disappeared, so we bought another, so we had 450 acres and we went clear down to Apple Creek Road. But it was all through there, and that's before you built a law enforcement place out there, jailhouse. And then, we ended up getting another, can't remember, 100 acres or so. We went across Yeagan Road over on the west side. And that was to build this, quarter-mile drag strip everybody wanted. That got rolling good, and then all of a sudden, our former mayor, Sorensen put a stop to it, so that was the end of that. Then the Yeagan Road came in, but the money that was sold off when they sold that acreage on the west side of the road there, of Yeagan, that went all towards this, fund that the county is sitting on right now. And then they borrowed 3 million from it for something, and they got about 5 million in there yet, but that's for future development or infrastructure, I believe it is. But they're sitting pretty tight on that right now. But and then we were going along pretty good out there, but we got bogged down with red tape every time we wanted to do something. We all brought it up to the county commissioners, and then we used to sell rent out the grounds out there for where the crop field, the hayland was and the crops. And volunteers would put in the crop for it, and volunteers would take it off, and the money went to the grounds, because we didn't have no funding out there to begin with. We did have half a mill levy way back at the beginning. Bob Nightful was the county commissioner. He got that half a mill in, but that had a sunset clause on it, which was a mistake. So we went without funding for all them years, and then finally the county commission said, you should limit your board of directors on the board. We have, I think it's 18 board members. Cut that back, and we'll look at trying to help you guys out to fund some stuff. So we cut that way down. Then we lost all our volunteers. So we never did get any funding for anything. So then they came in and tried to micromanage it. And that's where it ended up. It got micromanaged by the county, and people just walked away from it. So that's where it sits today.
Well, I really do appreciate the background on that. I think it's important to understand our history so we can build from that. And I think that as I have been communicated to about this committee, or the intent of this committee is to repair some relations, create new relationships, and to move forward out there. Is there, do we have a document or a map? Is this it that kind of looks at the land area that we're
Right,
looking
that
at?
is the map that Steve has been kind of working on, trying to think forward. I want to take this map to the county highway department to kind of refine it a little bit, but before I do that, I wanted to have everybody's view of the map to see, and not today, but as we look at this map, as we consider the facility, the grounds, what can we do? What should we do? How should we organize the facility? You know, the motor crash track, at this point is very well developed, but are there future needs that we need to consider in the next 10 years? Same with Buck Stop. And that's kind of the point of this meeting is when we each look at our pieces and parts of this facility, I want to look 10 years down the road and start planning growth. The county commission has taken approximately 50 acres and set it aside for an ag and equestrian center. We've got Buck Stop already out there. We've got the extension. We've got the motocross. We've got a circle track. That circle track has had some interesting requests lately to be able to get it back into the shape that it needs to be so that people can practice on it. The county commission has given approval for that volunteer group to take care of it, do what needs to be done. Before we get too far, I'm gonna share, and I wish I could. You'll have to look at my screen. One of the projects that's going to happen this year is there's going to be a sewer being run through. And the motocross group has been very involved in it because it's gonna take up some of their track for a short period of time. But if you can take a look at that, it's not very large, but your new sewer is gonna come right through in the north part of that circle track. So they'll be down for a month. Motocross, I don't remember how long they were talking, maybe, was that gonna be just a few weeks to a month? Kevin?
With the discussions that we've had with the city and the engineers, they're hoping to minimize the downtime and make it toward the end of the season, so maybe they had to maybe they were talking about wrapping up maybe a couple weeks early, but trying to minimize the impact it has on them.
The benefit is once they get done doing their work, this is the new sewer that's gonna be coming through. So that new sewer is essential because it's gonna feed the entire growth of east and northeast, northeast of Brisbane. Yes,
There's another sewer on the north side of where the racetrack is at,
Mhm.
through that parking lot.
right.
It only goes up to the concession stand, didn't go any further, I don't think.
It does
That one's
travel.
gonna be eliminated?
Well, that'll stay live.
Okay.
It currently does run all the way through Missouri Valley Complex.
Okay,
The county commission decided to keep it active. So the new line was intended to replace the old one. But the Burley County Commission, decided to keep it active so that we have access to that line and it will continue to be used.
there is a lot on the north side, we wanna put that, north edge of that racetrack. There's a lot of buried utilities in there,
Okay.
so you gotta be aware of that.
Okay.
Awful lot of underground stuff there. I helped put it in.
Calling you for the locate that or what?
It's there, put it that way.
When is the sewer project supposed to start? Is it in the fall then or is
This
it in the spring?
fall is my understanding.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
never mind, that's a
yeah.
long time.
Yeah, but when you look at this map, I want you to keep that in mind as we're, looking at developing this land, that we have to consider that. When I look at the sewer coming through the north part of the racetrack, and then on this map, we talk about this area for Midway and that area right there, the southern end of that might get affected a little bit with the sewer line, but if it's ground that we can have a Midway and a Carnival on, no big deal. It's underground, but if you look at developing and building and, depending on what happens, we gotta be
So,
concerned with that.
since it's the city of Bismarck sewer line that's new to feed, like you said, the growth for Bismarck. Are we able to tie into it or are we limited to using your county one that you're leading?
Both,
Okay.
yep,
Buckstone Junction is on Bismarck Water
it is,
and sewer.
okay,
So you're already tied into the Yeah. Bismarck somehow.
Yep.
And we are, right? Yeah.
yeah,
So any growth is gonna go dump into Bismarck. You have to really.
right, yeah, the new line is gonna be, is it 42 or 48-inch diameter pipe, and the old one's only 12. So that whole process, and the city's paying for everything. the construction, the pipe, the reconstruction of the land back to original condition, so there's no cost to the county, there's no special assessments coming, nothing in our world to worry about at that point. But just to keep in mind, it's definitely gonna affect the motocross for a little bit and the circle track this year. Next year, we should be out of that process and good to go. So,
Maybe, and members of the committee might know all of this already, but for the benefit of anybody else that might view this or watching it. Can you speak to the ownership and the easements, kind of give an overview of how that land works in conjunction with the city of Bismarck out there? I believe that, is some annexed, or is all of it annexed into the city? Does it exist solely in the county?
yeah, the Missouri Valley Complex is all within the city limits of Bismarck, owned by the county. The county does pay special assessments, you know, whether it's road construction or whatever out there, we've done that in the past. But it is all owned by Burley County. Right now, it is listed as a PUD in the planning department. One of the pieces that I would like to do is consider changing it to P for public. It would give us less restrictions to deal with when we want to grow and build out here. But that's, again, a conversation at a later date. But it is something to be considered.
What park district, what did the lease end up being for what the county was willing to sign for the building, for the Joanne Hetzel Memorial Building? Are you guys, did you get like a 99-year lease on the land that our building sits on? And then did you get the gravel parking lot or only the paved parking lot? Do you know?
I have a basic, yeah, the lease is a 99, was a 99.
And you redid it. You didn't take ours over, right?
Yeah.
You redid it, so you have an additional 22 years.
Yeah. So we own the building and
Yep.
then the map of the property line or the land lease line is kind of, it's not real.
No, it's not clear.
It's
We
not,
never, yeah,
it's not a square.
no.
Yeah.
And I think
So
it
that
actually
lot
cuts off part of that.
17 is,
So they don't lease this, but you did get a lease for the playground, or is the playground the county's?
no,
It's on the property.
It's on your property.
it's on their
Okay.
property, yep.
Cool. Huh. Look at our trailer. We asked the park district if we could put it there, but it's technically on the county's land.
Shh, don't tell anybody.
Okay, so we should make sure we get it closer to your land. Okay, anyway, cool.
Hmm,
So if I'm understanding correctly, any of the entities represented around the table, all of the entities that operate out there are operating on county-owned land within the city limits of Bismarck.
correct.
That includes Buckstop Junction.
Yep.
Okay. Is each entity also paying a lease? Now, I know I've spoken with a couple of groups around the table, and I know that leases exist out there. Is there a continuous leasing process? Is it negotiated individually? How are all of the entities coming to the table?
That would be a great question on the motocross track. I don't know that. I know there is a lease. I don't know if there's really much of a payment, and I think there's 12 years left on that lease.
It's about that, and,
Yeah.
and I don't know.
Right. I do know that on Monday night, the county, decided not to, extend the lease for the agricultural land that is on the northeast corner of that property. We do have a lease with Harlow's to park their buses in the one lot. We do have a lease with somebody to hay the land that is available. Kevin, do we have a lease with the state Parks and Rec for their training opportunities, or is that just something?
I think it's
that
just a
allows?
use agreement,
Okay.
I'm not 100% sure.
Okay, the only leases I really remember, or that I found, was the motocross, Parks and Rec for the land underneath the Joanne Hetzel, the crop and the hay.
We have one too.
You guys have a lease as well?
Yep,
Okay.
and Harlow's.
Yeah, and Harlow's, yeah.
We have, ours is reviewed every, I believe, every 10 years. And it's a 99-year contract, but they review it every 10 years.
Do you pay for your,
Yes.
you do?
Yes, but I think it's like
Please say it's pretty low.
$1 or $10.
Oh, thanks, okay.
Yeah.
It was agreed upon back in,
So Mark or Wayne, is that something next time we meet, or maybe even it's 2 meetings away or whatever, there's no stress about it, that we could just have a grid that says, you know,
Yeah.
Park District, Joanne Hetzel Memorial Building, lease for 99 years,
Sure.
or
When's it,
one,
stuff terms.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's up in 2 years, or it's up in whatever, 95 years. And maybe look to see, because maybe someone's gonna go, oh no, we thought we had something, but we don't, or
Right.
whatever.
Between Mark and I.
Or
we
maybe
can-
someone's supposed to be
yeah.
giving you guys $1 million and we're not.
Well, you know, and even the cropland up there was
Right.
a very small amount of money for the 50
Yeah,
acres that
sure.
they were
We're
farming. A lot of that, most of the times, the leases are there to cover the county insurance wise.
Sure.
Not necessarily an opportunity to make money.
Yeah, you know, I
You know,
know that, yeah, because
It's,
or you have to do something, exchange $1 for. a
Right,
building or whatever.
right.
Yeah.
So are they gonna farm that again this year, or is that done?
well, like I said, the county chose not to offer an extension.
Okay.
If they approach us, that's a conversation we will have. But at this point, that acreage up there is not leased.
We used to have a 99-year lease with the county when we first got the grounds out there way back, but I don't know where that's at anymore. I
We
think
still
that-
have it.
got people, we still have it.
For Buckstop or for the whole?
for buck stuff.
For Buckstop,
So we had it for the whole complex. out
yeah,
there.
that's what I'm thinking, they had it.
And then, talk about this lease now on the cropland. We would like, I talked to you once before about
Yep.
extending that parking lot a little bit to the east of Buckstop Junction.
And Riley said, right now, there's no leaks, so we'll, and that's the other part of, and I apologize, Kay, for jumping in.
No, when I feel, I'll just rein you. No.
That's the part of this group that I think is the most important. You know, Buckstop needs a little bit more room for parking for some of their events. So when we were talking with the farmer, we had asked him to move his corn maze a little further to the east so that we could have that.
And
You
you
know.
went farther to the west.
That was this year, not last year, I would have the conversation, but that's the point of this group and everybody being involved here and everybody attending the meetings. Is so that we can all help one another in your enterprises, but then work together as neighbors to make sure. All right, corn maze, if you were coming back, we need you to move over so that we can accomplish the parking, or if the motocross needs more area for another, to increase their that's the whole point of this, is for all of us to get together and have these conversations and make sure we're being good stewards or good partners with one another.
And one other thing, if that corn maze or corn ground isn't gonna be farmed this year, it should be seeded in the grass.
Mark and I are gonna look at that contract, because I know there is a clause in there, when, for termination of the lease, so.
Actually, we should just section off a quarter of that and put in trees, orchards, and have a community orchard garden up there.
So there, the community, the orchard they started, that little one that's right south of the gardens, it's not a very useful one. I think there's a couple, and then there's pollinator habitat, so if we
Yep.
want to make something. I know that was a discussion, talking to some other people
Yeah.
on Buckstop.
We were
Something
talking
over
about-
here, right?
Yeah, we
Or
were
up in the area
talking,
by parking, or,
like where the Dakota was trying to put in fruit trees and get fruit trees growing. I mean, it's a nice sunny area. It's
It's good ground.
it's good ground. I mean, it's been plowed and everything, so. If you want to move your community gardens, that's probably a better location for your community gardens. Because it gets more sunlight, it's better.
Well, and so that area up there is what the county has set aside for the Ag and Equestrian Center, so.
Is
Not
that a
all of it.
formal thing, or what? I thought that was just at the, wasn't the motion just if they got the grant? It's
No.
really formal, it's no matter
Yeah,
what
it is.
happens?
It's no matter what happens, yep. Yeah, so the land has been set aside, if you will,
Okay.
not exact, up to 50 acres.
For the grant.
And so what we'll need to do is, next steps for the equestrian center is to start looking at their plans of how things will come together, their buildings, and then work from there. One other piece, and I want to mention this before we get too far, I met with, Commissioner Bakken yesterday, and he's wanting this group, or me, one or the other, to consider trying to obtain a lease for the land to the north side of Maine. It's North Dakota school properties
Yeah.
right now, and put some kind of, box culverts underneath Maine. So that we could have parking as this grows, you know, as we think about the big picture of this.
How are you gonna get them across?
They'll walk underneath Maine through the box culverts.
Or
and-
maybe your building goes over there. With school lease land, so
Right.
that would be similar to getting the land you guys did in the eighties from the penitentiary.
Well, we
Because there's
never,
been other counties who have been able to get school land for their things.
Yep.
You have to petition to
we
the
thought
state.
about that land on the north side of the highway there, but it was kind of mostly a slough, so we changed our minds.
There
Yeah,
is some kind of a corral over there now.
Yeah, a
It
little corral
was
there,
used
yeah.
as something, but,
The guy still runs his cattle over there.
okay. But again, just as I'm trying to communicate the conversations that happened, that was something that came up yesterday.
well, I mean, and that's something a person has to research, like what, is it the county that goes before the
Right.
board, or is it?
And ultimately, what we're hoping that this group does is come up with a list of actionable items that you'll bring to, Kay will bring to the county commission to present the county commission for final action, you know. This, or here's a wish list, here's our thoughts.
Well, probably before we get more land, we should probably figure out what to do with the stuff. we
Well,
have.
absolutely.
But I mean, when you're thinking about being limited by the 60 acres and parking in a campground, and the campground's really not that big, because you're limited by the water.
Right,
If you know, to make something big. To have a
That's-
real big campground, you gotta get the,
That's with the 50 acres or whatever is there. We're working on our footprint right now and what that'll look like to set on there and then build off of that for campgrounds
and stuff.
and
Yeah.
whatever else is needed. Cause it's, the campgrounds for that facility can be used by other facilities.
Well, yeah, it helps us, I can imagine, like.
I
we
think
can
it would
bring
help
our
every group
cattle
out there.
at night.
Absolutely. it would.
yeah,
You know, it'd be huge
Yep.
for us as users.
right.
Yeah. Or people traveling through or however it works. Yes.
I heard the park district likes managing campgrounds, so the more
You?
campgrounds we can have.
You said yes.
Yeah, you have bookings, you have the software. How hard is it?
Brand new.
It's brand new software, I know. It's been a joy to work with North Dakota Parks and Rec on their new software and get my campgrounds at Stevenson and.
Well, do you like better so far?
I haven't booked with Sibley yet.
Okay.
I looked at it, but that's it. We didn't go through. So.
I'm still back on leases. I've
Oh.
really enjoyed this conversation, but to go to like the agenda item, the committee's coordination. For example, I do agree on to get a spreadsheet of, it would be really nice for this group to know what
Yeah.
everything is out there. What does the county commission see as this committee's role in any of those, the lease management, the lease evaluation? You know, I don't know that that's a question that you can answer right now, but you know, if, let's just say Joe Schmo's lease is up, does this committee have any evaluation of that? Do we go forward to speak on behalf of?
As I look at this, yes.
Okay.
Because this is the committee that is in charge of the development or the organization of this complex. So yes, and that would be the biggest reason to make sure you guys have access to all of this leases.
What about memorandums of understanding? Because we should have a list of that, because isn't that ATV people? Aren't they just working under a memorandum, or is that? Not motocross, but the
I think
ATV.
it's just a use agreement.
So could we have a list of who has usage agreements too, maybe? Because maybe we are unaware of different people that use out there, you know, if you don't. wonder when you drive
That's
by.
why I love a committee group talking, because I would have never thought of that.
Yeah, I just know about the ATV thing. I don't know
Yep.
why. Well, you're gonna do ATV safety during fun safety camp, aren't you?
Safety,
Yeah, I think that's why, because I've seen your poster recently again.
On that committee coordination, is there any anticipation of this committee having any funds to manage any accounts, to have any appropriated funds or to pool anything?
My opinion, one commissioner. Yes, I need to work into our annual budget. A fund for, and we do have, already established fund for the maintenance and different things that happen out here, so. It's a matter of growing that fund, to help this committee with that. With that in mind, I'd like you guys to work through the process of going, okay, we're gonna need money for ABC. You know, and it won't be. We'll start budgeting in June, so it won't be maybe 425 as much, some, but 26 definitely, you know,
So
but.
do you think your counterparts on the commission, and I have not seen a budget binder. Probably the last, before COVID, maybe 1 year after I seen it and seen the funds for Missouri Valley. I mean, and is that fund something, and I know you guys have to work on a budget, but let's say we said, oh my gosh, it'd be just the greatest thing in the world if we could put up a concession stand in the middle of it, so I can serve food and you can serve food and everyone can serve food, and we have bathrooms that are not porta potties, and it's gonna be great. I mean, is that something a person can come to the commission in the fall and say, we're sorry, or whatever? And there's $1 million in the Missouri Valley Fair Fund because we've sold land that we could access, or is that something that really has to be budgeted, do you think? And have a line item? Or do you, I don't know, maybe, and I can't see that we'd come up with something that quickly, but.
Well, right, but I do like the thought process of exactly what you just said. Come up with a plan, you know, figure out a cost. And then bring it to the commission
Okay.
with, is this something that would fit in a budget item? Or is this something that we can utilize some of the funds that are already there for the growth? The money that has been set aside, and I went back and read years of documents. That money is set aside for the growth of this facility.
Yeah.
Now, you know, that may not have been how it was all used, some of it was used at some point, but it is for the development. So to me, we need to build a road, we need to gravel a road, we need to maintain things, that's what that is for. Bathroom concession stand. Absolutely, that to me makes sense that we would want to have something like that. And again, this is all great conversations to get started, to get it in the thought process so that we can. Mark, I don't remember off the top of my head, you're probably gonna look at me like that. Missouri Valley Complex budget, 180,000.
Can I put that into the packet for the next meeting?
Sure,
I
absolutely.
can find it.
Yeah,
I just
I've got it.
I just don't know it
I've
offhand.
got it at home, I just don't know it offhand.
Yeah.
Because I've got a budget for each park.
Yeah, I was gonna say, cause you
For-
guys have been
yeah.
budgeting because of roads or whatever, but
Yep.
there's money. Let's say we wanna build ourselves a baby building, not enough money to build a big building, we're gonna build a baby building, there might be. Then it's probably always spent, but
But it would be something to put in the budget or put in the conversation to bring to the Burley County Commission.
like, hey, we actually have the money from when you sold the land to
Right.
whoever, or
Right.
maybe you need to sell more land to get us more money, or I don't know.
I think that money, we talked a little bit about that was civils, things like that. More than each certain
Right,
project.
yeah.
Wants and needs.
It would be more for the good of the whole.
Correct.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And that's what that money is there for, is for the good of the whole.
Yeah.
You know, and that's why I say like a road needs to be rebuilt so that it's gonna give us better flow. To me, that's what that money is for, making sure there's water to certain places, all of those things.
Sure.
However, there isn't, So one of the items that the park district did for the county a couple of years ago was even just doing an ADA audit. So I have money in my budget, every park for every ramp, to keep bringing things up to the ADA compliance. You know, this to me is another line item in the complex's budget of whatever A is, whatever this group comes together and says, we need a concession stand with bathrooms. And we need a budget of $400,000, whatever it is. And to try to work that through the budget process.
Obviously, there's a lot that we need. And a very, you know, and I don't know that we have a specific timeline, you know, this committee is certainly brand new, and I think we need time to grow and figure everything out and come to a consensus of where we want the next phase to begin at. But with that, I feel, and because I'm told on this agenda here, that we should discuss the meeting schedule. Before we do that, I would propose, I wrote down a couple of things, some things that I would like to see covered in the next meeting or series of meetings is obviously the review of the leases, and definitely good call on the other uses that are, that are out there. I would also love to hear brief and presentations from each of the representatives, the stakeholders out there on what's the history, what is it that you do, what do you feel that it brings to the community, as well as immediate wants and needs, maybe some pain points. So we all have a general understanding around the group, and I don't know if that's all in one shot at one meeting or whatever. We can look at what our meeting schedule will be. Clearly, we need to look at some budget items. And then I would also like, just for my own protection, Mark, if you could help us out on open meeting laws. I don't know if it's an email out to everybody, just know how to familiarity of how we can interact with each other.
Yeah,
Okay. With that, how often do we feel we should meet, at least at the beginning?
So I have a question, and I know when you said it has to be, your intention is to get this live at some point, so
Yeah.
that means you have to be here. Because, and I don't know how busy this room is, and I know you guys will be building with the county life, but like you guys have this technology at the extension office. So I mean, like, you're not necessarily limited by this building. I don't know that that technology would allow us to be live though.
Well, and this travels, you
Yeah.
know.
So I mean, you know, because I know that you're limited in this room
Right.
by that's the schedule. That. I'm not
Talking
saying
with
your room's
Auditor
empty.
Sponskowski, noon Wednesdays seem to be a good fit for the availability of the room. Once we have a schedule established, I think it'll be easier to make sure those folks are here to be able to make sure we're live.
Okay.
Um,
I see what you're saying.
yeah, it was short notice to
No,
get that done
used to
for
get it
this
done.
time, but once you're on a schedule, then, you know, then I think it works quite well. But like you said, the owl, we could meet upstairs in the conference room with tables, we could meet at extension, because that's on site, so that'd be
Yeah.
kind of nice, you know,
You could walk
sometimes as
if you
well.
wanted.
And we've got the owl there too.
Right.
On our own.
Yep,
That works great.
yeah. But again, I think the better we are at being live, the more desire we're gonna create within the community to be part of this group rather than, because they all watch it live for whatever, not all, but I mean, there are
Watch everything
people that,
recorded.
my neighbor watches it live, because every meeting I show up at home afterwards, I have a 30 to 40 minute conversation in the driveway, whether it's 0 or 100. I've been doing that for 10 years with him.
I don't know, just to really be honest, I don't know about noon and. I don't know about noon in my counterparts with 4-H, like April's gonna be tough because she's got Mary. When he does there's no way she can leave. That's the top 3 people at 4-H for me.
Sure,
Um,
doesn't have to be noon.
Right.
We just can.
no,
work
and
out.
this worked out great
Yeah.
for me, but for today, I don't know, for my counterparts. My backups, I don't know about you, came from work.
after the 26th of April, I don't have to worry about it.
Oh, okay, so maybe noon just works and it works, and we'll find someone. I got my degree, you'll be here.
I'm retiring,
Wow.
33 years, and I'm with the city.
Congratulations.
Be able to retire. Fun. We were just talking about that earlier. My wife wants me to retire sooner. I don't know if I can do that.
So, Mark, when he said Wednesdays at noon, so like I could say 4 weeks from now, this room's probably open.
I'd have to verify that. Typically speaking.
Yeah.
Noon seems to be a good
On
time,
Wednesday.
but that's something that I can verify. And whatever time that this committee chooses, whatever day, whatever time, I can go ahead and look at that. And I can project it out at least a few months, even to the end of the year. And be able to see in it if there's any issues.
I would propose, at least for an immediate frequency, I don't think enough can be accomplished in a 1 week's time. I know at least not in my world. But maybe a little quicker frequency at the beginning, maybe 2 weeks, every 2 weeks to meet. At the very beginning, and if we get to the second one and go, we got nothing to talk about, we can kick it out, but at least to get it on the calendar. To reserve that spot. Wednesdays I find perfect. I don't care what time, so we can work work on that a little bit. Wednesdays for me, I really like, especially if we are looking to be live. Because we usually don't have to worry about long weekends
Yeah.
and holidays often on a Wednesday. So if we could at least start from the Wednesday standpoint, is there any objection around the table for a Wednesday?
Well, I guess, I don't know if you wanna move it, I would just propose then. Could we go to? Would you be willing to go like Wednesday, April 24th for your next meeting, or is that too far away?
I don't see any issue in it. Again, I'm not coming, it's a matter of, I would yield to your fact finding mission for the leases and such, because I feel that that's going to be a crux of the next meeting's conversation is to
They should
go
be
over
in
that.
binder.
I have them on my computer right
Yeah, I
now.
was gonna say, they're
Oh.
there, I've seen almost all of it within the last couple of years.
I don't feel that unless there's objection on it, I don't feel that there's anything pressing to go any sooner than that.
Is there any group that's at this table now that has a presentation? I was just thinking, like, when you said about us all talking, I was thinking maybe you do more like what the Park District does at their meetings, where they have one group talk each month, like they have the fast pitch people talk once, and then the next month it's a different group. Getting people excited for a different thing that goes on that the park sponsors.
Yeah, I don't
That
think
we
we
can
can
have
get
someone.
everybody in at one. I
No,
think we
so
could
is there
easily do
anybody that
two.
is ready that, like, they question people, or Buckstop want to give an overview?
You've been out there longer than I have.
You wanna give an
You're doing a
overview?
pretty good job, though.
I only got on in 19, but
I don't know.
Makes no difference.
you can start, I'll finish. How's that?
Okay. You can back me up.
So you guys will
Sure.
talk next time about
Yeah.
where your future is, because I think that's just so interesting.
Yeah,
You know what you guys need and want. I love being out there, my kids
Well,
like going there.
I can tell you one thing that we're hoping to get going here as soon as possible. We're looking at different avenues. We want to build a barn out there. So when you guys have the junior and senior rodeos, they can actually have a barn dance. So it's something that we've been looking at doing. We've wanted a barn since the 90s, I guess, and we've had 2 barns lined up, and money speaks louder than donations, so both of those barns kind of walk down the road, but we're looking at different avenues to try to get a barn built out there. So we have, when the rodeo's in town, they have a place to have a barn dance, because the bars in this town, if any of you've been to the bars in this town lately, there's no dance floor, your best one would probably be Lonesome Dove and yeah, well. So we want to be able to offer it to professional rodeo guys and the high school rodeo guys and all of them. to get
So
that.
between the two of you, you feel that we could have, take a look at some options on the 24th as to where you've been, where you want to go, what your
Yeah.
needs are.
We can do that.
Perfect. So we can, kind of taste test that one and see if we can fit two or more in. Definitely don't want to kick this down the road all the way into October. So, but I do feel that there's enough going on at Buckstop that we could probably get that done easy.
Yeah, we got a meeting out there, at Buckstop, third Monday.
Monday.
Yeah, that's on what day? See, this is the second Monday this month, by
15th.
15.
15th, yeah. And I would like to have Steve New come to that meeting. And explain some of the stuff to the board. If you could do that, please. Okay, at 7 o'clock on Monday night. 15th, Monday evening.
Where do you meet?
Out at Buckstop Junction
At
in
the
the
hotel.
hotel.
At the hotel. Yeah, there's a
It's
lot of
heated.
buildings, you could meet anywhere out there, sure.
It's heated and everything.
If we do the April the 24th, are you able to get it on your schedule for at noon?
Oh,
Or-
yeah, I'll figure it out.
Okay.
Between us three, I'll find someone.
Not to be a pain, but Wednesdays are a little tough for me.
Okay,
Uh-oh.
So I don't know Tuesdays, Thursdays. And if we're really want to do it. If it needs to be, I'll try to do my best, but,
I have no objection with Tuesdays either. I mean,
and I don't know, Mark, as far as the room,
I'll have to check.
to check.
I guess, can we be in a holding pattern to decide on that?
Okay.
Is there any objection to Tuesdays if
No.
there's?
Not if it's at noon, it's the same, I have the same issue, no matter. what you do.
If we schedule it far enough ahead of time though, are you able to?
Yeah, or else I will bring my kid.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah.
addition to county civic.
Yeah,
So I'll just wait to hear from you as to the availability Tuesday or Wednesday, but
Yeah.
see if there is no conflict Tuesday at noon on the 23rd.
I can check into that, and if
And then
the,
they like do 2 weeks or 3 weeks out into May.
sure. Well, and I can also look into, if the Tom Baker room's not available, we do have the first floor conference room. If the committee is willing to use that room,
Yes,
I
I
can
can
check
have the
on that too.
traveling owl now.
yeah. Like I said, my goal is to have it live, but as we work through a schedule getting started, I don't have an issue upstairs as long as the owl is available and we can record it.
And should we plan on, again, the other thing is a frequency, I guess, if we're gonna go every 3 weeks, every month, or.
I think you should go every 3.
Yeah, I
like you
think
said,
3 is.
But 2 is a little bit, I don't know.
There's just not.
I don't know what, if you're asking someone a question, there might even be a commission meeting to go before and say, would you give us $500 to buy a sign or something?
Right.
Yeah, eventually I think we can get to a longer distance
We
in
need to
between the
fix the
meetings, but
sign.
I think it's important for
The
us
one
to
that
touch
we
base a
have,
little bit more
where our
frequent
big
as the
sign
beginning.
is,
So I think for
so
you, 3
We
weeks
should look at
Mhm.
is
putting
just fine.
a billboard up, an electronic billboard, because that will get more.
We should get both of us with electronic billboards replaced. Maybe that's something, and that would help everyone. If we, because right now it just says call the joint forest.
Cause that was the quickest Jerry could type, our old admin.
Yeah.
To input it, because it's got hail damage and. got-
Yeah, it's Rex.
And-
But I
I've
mean,
been
that
up
would
and
help
looked
motocross,
at it,
because they could
it's-
put, if it was a digital sign and we could be changing
Yeah.
them both at the same time, motocross can advertise and,
Right.
like, you know what I mean? So maybe digital signs should be towards the top of something that's really in a community that could be used.
Something concrete and specific.
Right. I did bids for Commissioner Jones 3-4 years ago.
Yeah, because she was gonna get us some.
Yep.
It didn't work out.
Well, it was 80 to 90,000 just to replace the one that's up on.
Okay, but like Dakota Community Bank just gave all the schools, like Lincoln
Right.
East Dakota, Myries East Dakota. So I wonder if we could, if I could ponder that with, not Stone Home, but the bank that's in the Stone Home building. Maybe. Maybe skip me one.
Any,
I
I want to be respectful of
I'm trying
your
not to
guys.
get myself in trouble.
I want to be respectful of your guys' time and get you back to work if you need.
That's Slough,
Yes.
because it's gonna be more visible than when you're, when
Yes.
yours is at, because driving through, you just.
Yeah.
It's,
No, you're totally right.
It's on that.
Yes.
Yeah.
yeah.
Just quickly, two other things to be thinking about is your needs and wants and, what's important for continued growth. Is this committee now being organized underneath the county allows and provides for grant applications that have not been available before. And there's a number of them out there, so that's the other thing, to stretch our dollars and make things happen that way. That are available through state parks, Garrison, other water recreation programs that are there. The other thing is, maybe Mark could touch on it, but we do have a website presence now with the county on the county website. This committee does. And so we can start using that and we just probably got the mechanics of it with Mary. Singer is how we get things on there and stuff. But so we do have that as well. For information and publication of events and things that are going on out there. So that will be available to this committee as well.
Excellent. All right, we have set the next meeting, April 20, well, we've been thinking about April 23rd at noon. If that is unavailable, we would bump to April 24th at noon, I believe was the consensus there. Is there any other questions or comments related to our items today? Or to be sure to place on a future agenda?
Agenda would need to be, the week prior,
Yeah, I
Would be best.
believe, yeah.
so 5 days,
Legally, it
5
can-
business days or?
Well, the Burley County, according to our rules that we set, the agenda needs to be out 5 days prior to the meeting.
Yep.
North Dakota state law, there is no requirement, but according to, Burley County, we like to have it 5 days out.
So
the
if we,
18.
so if we wanted to have something on the agenda, would it be proper then to email just Kay and you? Or how do you want us to just
I
email
would-
Kay?
I
and
would
then she's gonna
contact
tell you?
Kay and your
Secretary.
secretary.
And they're gonna give you it to put out.
They'll give me the agenda
Okay.
to put up.
So we need Kay and Steve is who we would email and be like, okay,
My aim is always to give people time back in their day. If there is no further business, I will give you 6 minutes back of your day. Do you, do rules require us to motion and approve
I
for
move to adjourn.
adjourning? Okay, perfect. Meeting adjourned.